Our next speaker is Toastmaster Gros. Ward retired from the Army Reserve with the rank of Sergeant Major. Only 1% of reservists reach that rank. As a Sergeant Major, Ward helped manage chaplains and chaplain assistants across the reserve to include training, operations, and deployments. Today, he shares his journey of 31 years with the U.S. Army with his speech, 31 years. Let's welcome Toastmaster Gros.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for giving us this theme day at our prestigious club, Winter Park Toastmasters. As with many vets, it is a little bit difficult for me to talk about my own experience with the Army. It's very difficult for me to know what to say when someone thanks me for their service, for my service. And I've been thinking about the approach to this. Now in 2020, which is the year that I retired, we all know COVID hit pretty hard and people were not gathering. So I had planned a couple of retirements and they never happened. My family was invited, then disinvited. And I took my retirement speech from that time and I said, let me work that through for today in order for me to share my experience with you and my family's experience with you. And then, as the soldier within me, as Jeff's speech is about someone else, and another time, another Veterans Day about someone else, I asked myself, do I really want to come here and talk about myself? And the answer is absolutely not. But I do want to bridge that gap. When I hear Jay Shaw not know what snafu means, or Missy not know what hua means, although Tim said it the way that many people would actually say it. And I must thank Tim for leading by example, because on my drive over, and I've heard Tim say this many times, I almost rewrote the entire speech. And Tim has previously presented cue cards and vocabulary for the group. I'm like, that's what I want to do to bridge the gap between military and civilian. Now, I always wanted to go into the Army as a photojournalist. It's very unusual for somebody to enlist after graduating college. And can you imagine meeting your future wife and telling her, yes, I want to marry you, and then I want to enlist in the Army. I want to go away from you. I want to go to boot camp. Well, that's what I did. And Anita and I got married in 1988, and I enlisted in 1989 as a military photojournalist. And the first term that really comes to mind when I think about Army, and I'll ask you to say this with me, as Tim has shown me, hurry up and wait. Can you say that?
Hurry up and wait.
All right, there's nothing like hurrying up and waiting. And that is something that is really drilled into us in basic training. Get here now. We're going to do this immediately, 2 hours from the time we arrive. Now, the whole point of that is to prepare you for combat, and you might think of combat as being an exciting time. But the dead periods of silence and monotony grind you down more than the exciting periods. You spend all that time training, gearing up, going through the motions, and doing nothing when you arrive. So I enlisted in 1989. I was 24 years old, and by PFC, Private First Class Standards, and I think Regina's son started there, I was an old dog. So an old dog in the Army is somebody who's like, what the heck are you doing here? I used Army logic for my first assignment. Army logic is to ask for the opposite of what you really want. So I asked for my first duty station. I shared this with my wife. I want us to go to Fort Huachuca, Arizona. It's isolated, at least 3 hours from civilization, a listening post, signal intelligence, and I would be a photojournalist there. Instead, I got Monterey, California. 3 blocks from Cannery Row. You could smell the sea lions and the seagulls. It was a wonderful experience. I was at the Foreign Language Center, and I got reassigned to the Bayonet Division, 7th Infantry Division Light, where we learned to rappel, fight with bayonets. hundreds of rides up and down the Pacific Coastal Highway in a helicopter. It was wonderful. Until, as new marriages often try, Anita and I were trying to have a child. She had her first miscarriage there. Now, we're both from Louisiana, and Anita's from what they call down the bayou. Down the bayou, hardly anybody else comes out of the bayou, to be honest. And I'm from New Orleans, and very many people who love New Orleans very rarely leave New Orleans. Although I grew up in Baton Rouge, that's my culture, that's her culture. We're distance from that. And in less than a month, I was called for my first deployment as a member of a rapid deployment public affairs team to Gitmo. Can you say Gitmo? Gitmo. So Gitmo is Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, Haitian refugees. And Gitmo has a couple of meanings in the military to include get more worse than this or get more of something else. All right? There, we did this. Embrace the suck. Can you say embrace the suck? So what's embrace the suck? When you think things can't get worse, they do. All right? That's a military mindset. That's definitely an Army mindset. Some deployments are worse than others. I've been to Kuwait twice. Kuwait deployments are very routine, very monotonous. Check in, check out. Your family's not there. Social activities are limited. 12-hour days. Sean Tucker, when I wrote this down, it is what we say, but I immediately thought of you in the movies. Groundhog Day. Can you say it? Groundhog Day. Some days we see our shadow and we want to go back in, and other days we don't, and we keep on moving. All right? Same old same is what that is. Now, sometimes things change, and the Army logic says you're going to Kuwait, which is a paradise of a deployment. It's an easy thing to do. But they switch around and give you Afghanistan, which we would call a sucking chest wound. I won't have you repeat that, but that's pretty tough in Afghanistan. Then, can you say Semper Gumby? Semper Gumby means you are flexing with whatever the Army throws you. Now, in hindsight, I enjoyed every step of the journey. Like Roy, I was assigned after Monterey to Würzburg, Germany. It's a great place, wine country, wine region, wine festivals, beer fest. As a photojournalist, I got to so many different occasions. I got to see so many people. Went to Russia, military review with Vladimir Putin. Rode in helicopters with Dick Cheney, Secretary of Defense at the time. Provided escort for Wolf Blitzer, CNN. Those were my photojournalist experiences. I have previously shared my chaplain duties with you, and those were a little bit more serious, as Jeff can attest to his friends' funerals. All right? But the bottom line is my family stuck together, thankfully. Thankfully, our family stuck together and did quite well. Anita got her master's degree in, now a guidance counselor. My son is 27 years old, industrial engineer. My daughter is 25, and it's all hooah. Thank you very much for your time.